Hey, Dr. Mike here. So, if you want to live forever-ish, you have to know what's in and what's not. Stay tuned to find out.
You're listening to Live Foreverish, a show dedicated to helping you live just a little longer. Here's your hosts, Dr. Mike and Dr. Crystal Gossard.
All right, welcome to Live Foreverish. Dr. Crystal, one of our favorite shows, right?
Yes.
This goes out the first Monday every month, right?
First Monday of every month. It originally started with us highlighting news articles from the magazine.
Oh, that's
for
from the
that
Life
month.
Extension magazine.
And guess what? We took it back to the basics.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah,
Yes.
So basically this whole show, it's about things you want to do to live forever-ish, strong, healthy, vibrant, longer lives,
Yes.
but energetic, good, you know?
Yeah. And let me just clarify. I said the magazine, but didn't say the Life Extension magazine.
I did. I filled it in for you. I got
All
your
right.
back.
Thank you.
And so what I like about this is it's nice, quick little things for people to think about. There's 3 N's. These are things you want to do to increase your health span, because that's living forever-ish, right? That's our new thing, right? Health span now.
Yes.
Okay. And then there's one thing, the out, that you don't want to do or you want to avoid, or it's sometimes, like in today's show, the out is really clarifying something for people about protein, right?
Right.
Okay, so let's get going. In number 1 for increasing your health span and living forever-ish is resveratrol for endothelial health.
Yes.
That was a lot right there. Resveratrol for endothelial health.
Yes, and this was a study published in the Clinical Journal of the American Society of Nephrology, October 23. And this, of course, nephrology, that's the focus is on kidney health, right? And so this was a randomized double-blind crossover trial.
Like those.
Crossover study type is nice when you don't have quite as many participants.
Right. Yeah. You almost you become your own control in a sense.
Right.
In a crossover study. Right.
Yes. And these individuals had stage 3
Oh, stage
chronic
3. Okay.
kidney
All right.
disease.
Should we explain that real quick? Should I explain that real
Yeah.
quick?
Yes.
So
Please.
stage 3, and I'm actually going to remember this because this is how we memorized it in medical school. When you look at kidney disease, it's ultimately the stages are determined by GFR, glomerular filtration rate, right? GFR.
Yes.
It's just a measurement of how well kidneys are filtering, right? And stage 3, I remember this, is considered the middle age for chronic kidney disease. So your GFR is around 40-ish, where it should be way better than that,
Yes.
right? And so I just remember that as being like the middle age. And what's middle age? Like 40.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, but so many diabetics do suffer, especially if your diabetes is not controlled. You
Yeah.
end up with
Without a
kidney
doubt.
damage.
Without a doubt.
Kidney disease.
Yeah.
Diabetics and individuals with high blood pressure. But
Right.
in this case, the individuals were diabetic. They did have chronic kidney disease, and their intervention was resveratrol.
Right. 400 milligrams a day
Yes.
versus placebo, and then they switched. So
Right.
you would do the 400. That's what a crossover is. So you would maybe start with the 400 milligrams a day, but then at I guess for 6 weeks, and then for another 6 weeks you did placebo, or was it 3 and 3? I don't. It's hard to see right here, but something like that. You basically switch,
Yes.
right? Which is really cool. What they find?
So they found, well, one thing, let's talk about what they measured. The main measurement here was endothelial function. And they measured this at the beginning and the end of the study,
Right.
which makes sense because we know that if you're diabetic, that excess sugar can damage the lining of your blood vessels.
Yeah, it's that, and when that happens specifically in the kidney vasculature, it causes a lot of vasoconstriction. That's where you get blood pressure issues as well. And so a lot of the damage that diabetics have because of sugar and glycation is actually vasoconstriction.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the participants who received the resveratrol had significantly greater flow-mediated dilation, meaning those blood vessels just responded
They opened up.
better. They opened
Yeah.
after having been constricted.
They opened on up.
For a brief period of time compared to the placebo group. So
Yeah.
we are seeing that somehow it's supporting healthy blood vessels The idea is that maybe it's just supporting overall cardiovascular health.
Yeah,
The
I think this is
polyphenols found in the red grape.
Yeah. It's so great to see, true interventional type studies with nutrients, right? We do get a lot of observational studies, which is fine. We talk about the limitations of those,
Yes.
but it's awesome to see something like this, right?
Right,
Yeah.
especially in this group.
Yeah. Well, that's a real good one. So resveratrol. Now, what does that mean to the everyday person? Hey, resveratrol is good for your cardiovascular health and, kidney health.
Yes, and we do know that.
Yeah.
I mean, we see that in healthy populations, and now we're seeing it in populations that aren't so healthy, that have some challenges.
In number 2, vitamin D and hair loss. Interesting. You don't hear vitamin D too much in the conversation of hair loss.
You don't, although there is research out there, but nobody's talking about it.
Yeah.
You don't often see it kind of as one of the big benefits of vitamin D. You typically
It's not. Yeah, I mean, people talk about heart and
Bones.
bones, all that. The big stuff, brain stuff. Immune. But now we got some hair loss. So tell us what all this is about.
Yeah, so this was a systematic review and meta-analysis of 23 case-controlled studies. And they were looking at different types of hair loss, non-scarring alopecia specifically.
Yeah.
And so that non-scarring, we know that hair can typically grow back.
It can grow back. Yeah, all it means is when you look at the scalp, you don't see a lot of inflammation. It's an indication that the follicles are still alive and can grow again.
Yes.
That's yeah.
And so there are different types of the non-scarring alopecia, but that's kind of what the researchers were identifying related to the vitamin D. Over 3,000 individuals with the non-scarring versus the controls, and they found an association between low vitamin D or vitamin D deficiency and the prevalence of the non-scarring alopecia.
Okay. It looks like here they define the vitamin D deficiency as less than 20 nanograms per mil.
That's low.
I mean, that's low. I mean,
But you would be surprised, Dr. Mike. The people who are not, if you're not taking vitamin D, and especially if you have darker skin or you're staying out of the sun,
yeah, you're going to have a problem.
you're going to be low like
You're going to have a
this.
problem. Remember I told you I was taking it every day. What was I doing? 5,000 units every day for like years. And I finally, it was you convinced me to check my levels, and it was like 120 or something like that.
Oh,
so
yes.
that's too high. You want to, I like 70-ish, 80-ish nanograms per
But
mil.
I would tell you, and I'm just going to say this one more time, if you are not taking vitamin D, it is very likely that you are deficient.
You're low in it. And it is, I mean, keep this in mind. It's not just about hair. I mean, there are vitamin D receptors on every cell type in the human body. That's pretty important.
Yes.
All right, let's get to the hair loss stuff. What do they find?
Yeah, so compared to healthy controls, if your vitamin D level was less than 20 nanograms per ml, it was associated with more than 3 times the risk of androgenic alopecia, hormone related from androgens, and 4 times the risk of female pattern hair loss, 60% greater risk of just diffuse overall hair loss.
Yeah, that's important. So if you're somebody who, maybe you're a guy, although it happens in females too, but generally speaking, let's use a guy as an example. If you're in a family where uncles and grandfathers and whatever lost their hair, that classic frontal part first, all that, that's usually hormonal. And so, step 1, hey, take some vitamin D. maybe that gives you a chance, right? To hold on some of that hair, right? That's great. I love this. And I love talking about like the basic stuff, going back, like you said at the beginning, we don't have to get all fancy.
We don't.
Vitamin D.
So simple. So cheap.
Yes.
I don't know why I got excited.
I don't know, but because it is. And it could be so powerful for somebody's goal if it's living foreverish.
That's right. And just a cool fun fact is you find it's well known, and I said people don't talk about it, but vitamin D can be used even topically for hair loss.
Oh, so I got to be honest with you, I never heard that.
Yes.
Wow.
So if you really want
Rub it on
concern Maybe talk to your doctor. They even have prescriptions specifically for the scalp.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Gosh, I definitely would consider that. Okay, let's go to in number 3. Well, my hair's pretty good so far. I don't know.
I always look, and I'm always very surprised
at 9
and impressed. Yes.
No,
wow, Dr. Mike's got a good head of hair.
I do. I mean, no, it's definitely thinner.
Okay.
I mean, that just happens. I mean, there's no doubt. I used to have a good thick head of hair when I was young and my dating days going out. Woo! Flowing hair. Locks. Now it's a little thin, but it's still there.
It looks good, though. Well, it's great that you started out with so much.
Yeah, that's probably why it's been hopeful. Okay, all right. In number 3, exercise and cognitive function. This was from the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease Reports. What was going on here?
Yeah, so this was a nice study. They used walking as an intervention.
Woohoo!
Treadmill test, 30 minutes, supervised exercise training intervention. And before the intervention and after, the participants, of course, underwent a graded exercise test as well as cognitive tests and resting functional MRI scans. So what the researchers wanted to see, one, does your cardiorespiratory fitness improve? 12 weeks, 30 minutes a day. 2, are your cognitive abilities improving just based on like different tests?
Okay,
like cognitive.
There's many different tests.
And,
little
different
games.
tests. We have to remember.
I'm looking at the ones they used here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I remember some of these. I remember the one where you take I can't remember, it was called COWAT test. I don't remember that, but it was where you take one, you give somebody one letter, S. And then they have like 30 seconds or something to
30 or 60 seconds
to say as many words with S as you can. But it's not just that. Did you know there's a little twist to it?
No.
What you're really looking at is if they can bounce from like S is related to food, and then instead of giving up, then they go, oh, what about S is related to school? What about S is related to body parts like sphincter? I don't know.
Wait, so that's interesting.
Yeah, so you're actually there is part of the test where it's how many words just straight across. But then you're looking at were they able to go to different categories of things?
Wow.
Yeah.
See, I did not know that, but I started practicing just in case you quizzed me during our podcast.
Well, how?
I was like, okay, F. How many words can
Why would you say? Because you just put F there as an example. Okay, you got 10 seconds.
No.
You got 10 seconds. The letter A. Go.
Apple. Cognitive dysfunction.
6, 7, 8. Acorn.
Appreciate. I was thinking we could go back and forth, but I said I would play that game with my kids.
Yeah.
It's a great road trip game out there. So that's just one of the tests. But the last piece, so cognitive tests, exercise tests, before and after, and then the last was functional MRI scan. So they wanted to see
that's what I do.
What's happening in the brain. And what was nice is they were wanting to see the connections between different brain regions as well.
Yeah, that's what the functional MRI can do, right? It allows you to see what part is lighting up, leading to another part that lights up, basically. And you can you make so you start. It's like neural highways, and you can start to see them. And there's certain things that should light up if you're doing certain tasks, certain things that should light up if you're doing it. And if you don't see it light up, that's not good.
And I'll tell you, with this study, the researchers said this study is unique in the way they perform the functional MRI is because most researchers are so targeted in what they're looking at. They're usually saying, I want to see how this area of the brain communicates with that. This one, you should in the images in the paper, they put those nodes all over the brain. And they just said, okay, we're just going to put it there and just see what happens.
And overall, there was an improvement across the board in that kind of function.
Yes, in the networks between major networks, as well as improved connections within those networks. And that was after 12 weeks.
So it's, I guess, you think of it this way, exercise even just walking, it's activating neuroplasticity. It's activating the growth of those because we've said it before, right? It's not just brain cells don't work in isolation. The only reason they work is they talk and they pass on notes, sticky notes, right? And you got to keep those notes going. Yeah.
You do, and when you get older, you kind of lose some of those connections.
Yeah, I don't know where my sticky notes are. Where's my sticky notes?
But these individuals, I don't know if we said that these some of them had intact cognition, and some did have mild cognitive impairment, and in both groups. There were improvements, and that's just exercise.
And simple exercise, not anything crazy. You're walking at a good, that's so good. And this is now another piece of evidence for just walking. We remember we saw just walking helps with longevity.
Yes.
I mean, obviously you want to do a little bit more if you can, but if walking is what you're doing, do it every day, and that's awesome.
It's consistency.
Yeah. All right. So those are the 3 N's. Let's go to the thing we don't want. Now, in this case, it's really what's out is an old way of, what is it? Categorizing protein.
Yes.
Right? How many of you listening, know there's complete protein and incomplete protein? Now, if you said, yeah, I know that, well, you're wrong. Ooh, they're wrong.
Yeah.
I was wrong for years.
Many people.
Yeah. It turns out all protein sources are
complete.
Yeah, explain what's going on here.
Yeah, so when we talk about proteins are made up, the building blocks are amino acids, and in order to make a protein, you need 20 of those. And so a complete protein will give you all 20 of those amino acids. And we often thought, or historically, we think that it has to come from animal products to get all 20.
For you.
Or we've said, okay, soy is that one exception.
Maybe soy is the club. But no, I mean, for years and years and years, I mean, we were taught it's all in the marketing. It's all in the education books. Incomplete plants are incomplete sources.
Yes.
Right.
And the reality is they're not.
They have all 20.
They have all 20. And you may have to eat a whole lot more to kind of get all of those amino acids in sufficient amounts, because the one limiting factor with animal-based, plant-based protein is that they may not have an abundance of certain amino acids.
Right,
They're there, but they may
in
not
small
be
amounts. And then the plant itself may have digestibility issues with those. So it's not. So they are complete. So now we're moving away from saying incomplete, right? Because they're complete. But we're now going to talk more about the quality of the protein source.
Right. Yes. And so what that means is we can't just look at that raw number. Even if you just pick up a can of beans and you say, "Oh wow,
you mean
this
total
has
protein, like
total protein."
Yeah,
can't. You may say, "Wow, this has 10 grams of protein. This is
Woo!
it." Oh yeah.
But yeah, based on the plant source, you may only get 3 of them.
But you're right. Yeah. You're right. Based on the digestibility of that protein, so we want to really look at the quality of the protein. And that includes the digestibility is factored in there, as well as the amounts of those individual amino acids. So it's just a different way of thinking about getting your protein, reaching your protein needs.
Well, I know there's a movement, right? So, moving away from complete, incomplete, right, and moving more into quality sources. And there's, taking those 2 factors, like you said, digestibility, the amount of those individual amino acids, those can be put together, and there's a scoring system for that. What is that? I mean, I have it here: digestible, indispensable amino acid score, DIAAS. Now, you and I are just calling it. What are we calling it? Diaz.
You call it Diaz. I was saying
we're
Diaz.
We're just making it up because we don't want to say DIAAS all the time or read the whole thing, whatever. But so this is a scoring system where it's taking into account those factors. So like on this scoring system, red meat is going to score really high. As a matter of fact, it scores in the excellent category, which is over 100 points, right?
Yes.
And then most of your plant sources are going to not be quite that good, but they're going to fall more in the 75, 80 range, something like that, even less.
Yes. But what all that means is you can still get or meet your protein requirements from plants. I think it's good news.
Yeah, it is.
But you have to kind of take into account the quality, and when you're looking or trying to identify, and you're asking. Do people ask Siri still, or is it Bard, or is it Chat GPT? Anyway,
Google.
when you're asking your AI friend, make
That's
sure
so
you're
sad.
asking
It's so
your
sad. We have AI
friend,
friends.
asking your friend about not just amount.
Yeah.
Ask your friend about the quality.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, on packaging now, if you're looking at something and it says excellent source, it's based on this DIAS score, and that in that case, it's over 100. Right? So that's a good high. You're going to get you're going to get all that protein, right?
Yes.
If it says good source, that's in the 75 to 90 range. That's still good. And then if you don't see anything on the package, it's probably not great. It's probably not the quality that you want. And you did mention you can still get everything you need from vegetables and plants and stuff, because you can actually take. We talked about this on a live show we did, right, where you can take a couple of low quality ones that are scoring, I don't know, I'm making something up. Let's just, whatever you're eating, let's say one protein is 40, the other one's 40. Combine them, you got a quality of 80 now.
Yes.
So combining is
Absolutely.
important. Yeah.
It is important, and but you don't have to combine them all in one meal. That's the other kind of new idea, those combinations, over a day's time.
I know. But don't you want to combine them in the same meal, because so that way you're just not eating spinach? I mean, can I mix some other things in there, like add some variety to the meal I'm eating?
I guess so. Here's what I would say to that. Some people, like for me, before I really dove into this, if I had a spinach salad or any of my salads, I was like, I gotta get my nuts on top. Oh, I gotta get some chickpeas on here. I have to, you think I have to have these things, all at the same time.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
As long as it's the goal is about within 3 hour time period, eat something else,
Okay, all right.
different type of plant-based protein, and you should be good to go.
I'll tell you what. Here, I'm going to say it. You know what? Here's the bottom line. Follow Dr. Crystal's 80-20 rule. Throughout your day, 80% of your food sources plant-based, 20% lean meat.
That's right.
Done.
And, if you really want to be an overachiever, maybe save those meat days for 2-3 times a week. Like every meal doesn't have to have.
Now you're getting silly. now you're just
You
going off
don't
the deep end.
need meat with every meal.
But I like it.
I know.
All right, that's great information. 3 ins and an out for living forever-ish, increasing your health span. Don't forget, our sponsor, Life Extension, would like to say thank you to our listeners. If you go to lifeextension.com, shop around, when you check out, put in the code podcast, and you'll get 10% off, $50 or more, and free shipping and handling. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty good deal. And then don't forget, at liveforeverish.com, tons more episodes for you to download, like, share, and of course subscribe. Wherever you listen to your podcast on, subscribe, right? So you never miss a show.
That's right.
Liveforeverish.com.
Oh. Give us a 5-star rating too.
But 5-star rating.
Give us some feedback, comment, and let
Not
us know
4,
if there are
5.
any other topics that you would like
That sounds
for
great.
us to cover.
Liveforeverish.com. I'm Dr. Mike. That's
Dr. Crystal.
Thanks for listening.